In the beginning, God brought the heavens and the earth into existence. The earth at this stage was formless, barren, and covered in darkness. The Spirit of God moved over this vast emptiness and declared, "Let there be light." Instantly, light illuminated the entire surface of the earth. God observed the light and found it good. He separated the light from the darkness, naming the light day and the darkness night. Thus, the first day was created. On the second day, God turned his attention to the waters. He commanded, "Let the waters be divided." Instantly, the waters began to separate, some rising above, while the rest remained below. God observed the waters above and those below, and then looked at the expanse between them. He named this vast space sky. On the third day, God directed his focus to the waters beneath the sky. He commanded, "Let the waters gather into seas, rivers, and lakes, and let dry land emerge." In an instant, the land rose from the waters. Rivers flowed across the surface, creating hills, valleys, lakes, and seas. God observed the dry land and the seas, declaring, "This is good." Then he spoke to the land, saying, "Let vegetation sprout, grasses, vegetables, herbs, and trees. Each of them will bear seeds to ensure life continues." Instantly, plants began to grow across the earth. There were grasses, flowers, vegetables, and a variety of trees. Some grew tall, while others remained close to the ground. Some trees bore fruits of various kinds. From that day on, all plants carried seeds, so life could thrive endlessly. On the fourth day, God gazed into the heavens and declared, "Let there be lights, a greater light to rule over the day, and a lesser light to govern the night. These lights will mark the passage of time, separating day from night, and serve as signs for seasons, days, and years." Instantly, the sun began its journey across the sky, bringing light and warmth to the earth. The moon and stars adorned the night, filling it with splendor and brilliance. God observed the sun, the moon, and the stars and said, "This is good." On the fifth day, God turned his attention to the sky and the waters below. He commanded, "Let life emerge. Let there be birds in the skies and fish, along with sea creatures in the waters." Immediately, the oceans, lakes, and rivers came alive with movement. Sea creatures of all sizes, some large and others small, began to swim. Fish appeared in various shapes, sizes, and colors. Birds filled the skies, some soaring high, while others stayed closer to the ground, each with its own unique form, color, and sound. God looked at the sea creatures, the fish, and the birds and said, "This is good." He blessed them and instructed them to multiply and fill both the seas and the skies. On the sixth day, God spoke to the earth, saying, "Let living creatures come forth. Let there be wild animals and others that can be tamed." Immediately, animals of all kinds began to roam the earth. Some were enormous, while others were tiny. God looked at the creatures and said, "This is good." Then God said, "Let us create people made in our image. They will have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and all the animals that move across the land." So God created a man and a woman. He blessed them and told them to multiply and fill the earth with their descendants. He gave them authority over all his creation. Then God provided them with fruits, grains, vegetables, and green plants for sustenance. After looking at everything he had made, God said, "This is very, very good." On the seventh day, God rested from all his work. He blessed the seventh day and set it apart as a special day. This is the story of how God created the heavens and the earth, bringing forth life during the first week of time. Now imagine the earth in its earliest days, before any plants had grown. At that time, God had not yet sent rain, but a mist would rise each day to water the ground. It was during this period that God took soil and carefully shaped the first man. He breathed life into his nostrils, and Adam became alive. God planted a garden in a place called Eden, filled with every kind of tree. A river flowed out from the garden, and in its center stood two unique trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God instructed Adam to care for the garden. He told him, "You may eat from any tree except for the one in the middle, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If you eat from that tree, you will surely die." God saw that it wasn't good for man to be alone and said, "I will make a helper suitable for him." So he brought all the animals to Adam and instructed him to name them. Adam gave names to each one, and whatever name he chose, that became its name. As Adam was naming the animals, he noticed that each came in pairs, male and female. However, he realized there was no partner for him. God caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, and while he slept, God gently opened his side and removed a rib. After closing the flesh, God used the rib to create a woman. When Adam awoke, God presented the woman to him. Adam said, "This is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. This is why a man leaves his parents to unite with his wife, and they become one flesh." Adam named his wife Eve because she would become the mother of all humanity. God had created Adam and Eve, providing everything they needed in the Garden of Eden. Just like the animals, they had no need for clothing and felt no shame. Among all the animals, the serpent was the most cunning. One day, the serpent approached Eve and asked, "Did God really say you can't eat from any of the trees in the garden?" Eve replied, "We can eat from all the trees, except for the one in the middle." God said we're not to eat from it or even touch it. He warned that if we do, we will die. The serpent countered, "That's not true. You won't die. God knows that if you eat the fruit, you'll be like him, knowing good and evil." The woman gazed at the fruit. It looked beautiful and appetizing. She thought, "This fruit will make me wise." So she picked the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to Adam, and he ate it as well. Suddenly, they realized they were naked. In their shame, they sewed fig leaves together to make coverings for themselves. As evening fell, Adam and Eve heard the sound of God walking in the garden. Fear gripped them, and they realized they were afraid of God, so they hid among the trees. "Adam, where are you?" God called. Knowing he had to respond, Adam said, "Lord, I heard you walking in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." God asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam replied, "It was the woman you gave me. She gave me the fruit, and yes, I ate it." God then turned to Eve and asked, "Why did you do this?" Eve answered, "The serpent, the snake, tricked me into eating it." God then turned to the serpent and said, "Because you have done this, you are cursed above all animals. From now on, you will crawl on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life. There will be enmity between you and the woman, and a struggle between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel." Looking at the woman, God said, "I will greatly increase your pain in childbirth. Bringing forth children will now be marked with great suffering. You will desire to control your husband, but from now on, he will rule over you." God said to Adam, "I clearly commanded you not to eat from that tree, yet you disobeyed. Because of this, the ground is now cursed. From this day forward, you will toil for your food, and the earth will resist you. It will produce thorns and weeds, and hard labor will define your life until you return to the soil from which you were made." God made garments from animal skins and clothed the man and his wife. He then sent them out of the garden, where they would now labor over the soil to obtain their food. God said, "Humans now know both good and evil. They might attempt to reach the tree of life to live forever." So God placed a heavenly guard at the entrance of the garden. From that day forward, humanity was separated from the tree of life. After Adam and Eve's disobedience, they were cast out of the perfect Garden of Eden. In response to their transgression, God declared a series of consequences. The serpent, representing cunning and deception, was cursed to crawl on its belly, and enmity was established between it and humanity. A prophetic statement hinted at a future conflict between the descendants of the woman and the serpent, with the woman's offspring ultimately prevailing. Eve would bear the burden of greater pain in childbirth, and her relationship with Adam would be characterized by a power struggle, with men ruling over women. Adam, for his disobedience, would face the hardship of working the ground, which would now produce thorns and weeds. Mortality became an unavoidable aspect of human existence.